Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep today into what it's really like to live as an expat in Jakarta, Indonesia.
Yeah, and our guide for this comes from moveandstay.com. What's interesting is their background. They've been doing this, helping business folks and expats find places across Asia for over 25 years.
Wow, 25 years. That's a lot of experience. They've seen things change, I bet.
Exactly. So they have a pretty solid perspective on, well, making these big moves work.
Absolutely. So, our mission here is really to distill that experience, cut through all the info, and pull out the key things for you. Maybe you're actually planning a move, or maybe you're just fascinated by Jakarta.
Right. We want to give you that shortcut to understanding the essentials.
We'll look at the different neighborhoods, what they offer for different people, families, young professionals, that sort of thing.
And touch on the practical stuff too, like getting around, always a big topic in Jakarta, staying safe, and, actually soaking up the culture.
Think of this as your essential briefing, drawing on decades of real-world experience helping people land on their feet in places like Jakarta. Let's jump in.
Okay, first things first. Finding your spot. Where do you actually live? The guide makes it super clear that picking the right district is, well, it's fundamental, especially if you got family in tow.
Yeah, it's more than just finding a house or an apartment, right? It's finding the place that fits your life.
Totally. It's that juggling act, budget, lifestyle, and what you absolutely need close by. Is it work? Or is it getting the kids to a good school without spending hours in traffic?
Those priorities really shape your choices.
They really do. Now, if saving money is a big factor, the guide suggests looking east. East Jakarta is generally seen as more budget-friendly than other parts of the city.
Okay, so potentially easier on the wallet. And
Right.
it's near quite a few commercial and industrial zones, I gather.
That's right. But, and this is a big but they highlight for families, the distance from East Jakarta to the main international schools. That can be a killer, a real drawback.
Oof. So you save on rent, but maybe pay for it in commute time, especially for the school run. That's a tough trade-off.
It's a classic Jakarta dilemma, honestly. The guide also mentions, interestingly, that East Jakarta has a significant Indian expat community. But yeah, that cost versus convenience, particularly around schools, is something Move and Stay clearly flags from their experience.
Okay, so if schools are the priority, especially international ones, where does the guide point families then?
It strongly flags Kemang and Pondok Indah, both in South Jakarta. These areas are much better known for, spacious living villas, more green around, just a more family-centric vibe.
And crucially,
And crucially, yes, they're specifically highlighted for being close to those international schools. That's a huge plus.
it sounds like they offer more than just convenience for schools, though.
Oh, definitely. Lots of malls, plenty of restaurants nearby, makes daily life easier. Pondok Indah is even mentioned as having specific community activities aimed at helping expat families settle in and connect.
That's smart. Building that community is so important.
It really is. The guide does a quick compare, too. Kemang is maybe a bit more trendy, vibrant, mix of villas and apartments, lots of cafes, bars, art spots. Pondok Indah is more about those large family houses, feels a bit more upscale, family-focused, with big malls, a water park, even a golf course nearby.
But the bottom line for both is that school proximity.
Yes, being close to the schools drastically cuts down on commute times. Their experience suggests this makes a massive difference to quality of life for families in Jakarta.
Right. Okay, shifting gears. What about folks looking for luxury or needing to be right downtown, near the business district? That obviously comes at a price.
Unsurprisingly, yeah, higher price tag, but you're paying for, well, better facilities usually, and location, location, location. Sudirman is ground zero here, the absolute business hub, right in the CBD.
So if you're in finance or something similar, living there means maybe a 5-minute walk to work.
Potentially, yeah. It puts you, as the guide says, in the thick of it. They mentioned the SCBD area nearby is like Jakarta's Orchard Road,
Yeah.
and it's right next to Senopati, which apparently gets called Sano Party.
Huh. So just a work hard, play hard vibe then.
Definitely that kind of blend. Then there's Kuningan, more modern feel maybe. The guide actually compares it a bit to Singapore mentions. It has some walkable streets, which is rare for Jakarta, and a lively nightlife.
Interesting. And it's a diplomatic hub, too.
Yeah, lots of embassies there. Popular with expats. It's a mix of condos, some older houses, plus malls like Kuningan City. Seems to offer a comfortable lifestyle, still close to the CBD.
So maybe a bit less intense than Sudirman itself, but still very central.
That's the impression, yeah. Good for professionals working in South Jakarta.
And Kebioran Baru, that sounds a bit different again.
It is. It's described as older, more established. Think leafy streets, larger houses. Also popular with families, apparently. Strong expat community, good restaurants, shops.
Any specific spots within it?
Yeah, they mentioned Dharma Wangsa and Senapati. That name, again, is particular expat favorites within Kebioran Baru. It sounds more laid back than Sudirman or Kuningan.
But still connected.
Oh yeah, it's still easy access to the city center. And interestingly, despite the residential feel, the guide points out that many international companies have branches there, so it's quite business-focused too, attracting expats for work.
So for these upscale areas, the message is expect higher costs, but you're getting prime location, often better amenities, a certain standard of living. It's about understanding that trade-off.
Absolutely. Always comes back to what you prioritized.
Okay, let's talk about young professionals. Maybe less focused on schools, more on lifestyle, buzz, nightlife. Where does the guide steer them?
Kemang pops up again. We talked about it for families, but it's also singled out as the hotspot for young expats.
Makes sense. That vibrant feel, mix of cultures, all the restaurants, bars. Sounds like where the action is.
It definitely has that reputation. Not the cheapest, for sure, but it's got that buzz. And hey, being near international schools might be a random plus, even if kids aren't on the radar yet.
True. What about Salandak? Sounds different.
It does. The guide describes it as more of a blend, less purely expat-dominated than Kemang, so you might get a better feel for local Indonesian life alongside the international options.
So still convenience, but maybe a bit more authentic.
Perhaps, yeah. And generally, it's flagged as being more affordable than Kemang. Plus, it's got some nice green spaces, which is always a bonus in Jakarta.
And the Senopati zone, we mentioned it borders Sudirman.
Yes, and here it's highlighted specifically for being chic, contemporary, very style-focused. Think high-end restaurants, trendy cafes, designer shops.
Ah, okay. So attracts a fashionable, maybe younger crowd.
Definitely presented as upscale and trendy. Great for fine dining, sophisticated nightlife. If you want to be where the trends are, this seems to be it. And being so close to the Sudirman CBD is obviously a huge draw for professionals.
So living there means access, networking, style, but at a premium cost.
Precisely. It's the high-style choice for the young professional set.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground on where to live, but settling in is more than just the neighborhood. The guide talks about getting immersed, right?
Absolutely. Stepping outside the familiar expat circles is key to really getting Jakarta.
And exploring local markets sounds like quite the experience. Chaotic, vibrant, sensory overload.
Totally. Haggling is expected. Fresh produce, spices, clothes, household stuff. Trying the local snacks is a must. They mentioned Pasar Baru as an older one, known for furniture.
What about arts and culture?
It's growing, the guide says. Maybe not always in your face, but it's there. Galleries in areas like Menteng, live music spots, particularly in Kemang, jazz, rock, you name it.
So keep an eye out for festivals and events.
Definitely. The scene is evolving, and of course, the food. Jakarta is positioned as a serious foodie heaven.
From street stalls to fancy dining, the range sounds immense.
It really is. Must-tries mentioned are nasi goreng, satay, gado-gado, and they really encourage trying street food. Just look for busy stalls. That's usually a good sign for freshness.
Any adventurous options mentioned?
Yeah, so the batawi, that beef soup, or karak teller, the omelet thing, shows the depth. And great food is pretty accessible, affordable often too.
Right. No. The elephant in the room. Or maybe the gridlocked car. Transportation. The guide calls getting around an adventure.
Hey, yeah, that's one way to put it. The traffic is, well, it's famous. Really intense, especially peak hours like 7:10 a.m., 4:07 p.m.
So planning around it is non-negotiable.
Absolutely essential.
Yeah.
Using apps like Waze or Google Maps isn't optional. It's survival and patience. Lots of patience. Jams are just part of the daily rhythm.
But public transport is getting better.
It is improving, yes. The Transjakarta BRT uses dedicated lanes, which helps. It's affordable, but can get seriously crowded. The MRT, the subway, is newer, cleaner, efficient, and crucially, it beats the traffic.
That must be a game changer.
A huge relief for many. There's also the commuter line train, the KRL, for longer distances, but again, very crowded at peak times.
And ride-hailing.
Oh yeah. Gojek, Grab, they're everywhere. Super convenient, generally pretty cheap. A lifesaver for many expats.
What about owning a car? Does the guide lean one way or the other?
It presents the trade-offs. Freedom versus hassle, basically. Cars are expensive to buy and run tax, insurance, parking. Finding parking is tough, and the traffic is just relentless.
So most people mix and match.
Yeah, the guide suggests a combo of public transport and ride-hailing is often the most practical solution for expats, based on their experience matching people with lifestyles there.
Makes sense. Okay, another crucial aspect. Safety. Like any megacity, there are things to be aware of.
Right. The guide mentions understanding local crime. Petty stuff like bag snatching can happen in crowded areas. Violent crime is less common, but it pays to stay informed.
Are there community safety measures in place?
Yes, they mention things like neighborhood watch systems, siscomling, where residents help patrol. And lots of residential areas, especially where expats live, have their own security personnel. There's a community aspect to it.
Good to know. And emergency contacts.
General emergency is 112. But it's smart to know your nearest reliable hospital or clinic, especially if you're, say, in Kemang or another expat hub. Response times can vary. Expat support services can also be helpful here.
So the overall take from the guide is that Jakarta is generally safe, provided you use common sense.
That's the gist. Avoid walking alone late at night in quiet areas. Watch your belongings. Be aware of your surroundings. Standard big city precautions, really.
All right. Finally, making the most of it all leisure and entertainment. What's on offer?
Loads. Jakarta is huge on malls and dining.
Big part of the social life.
Definitely. The guide mentions places like Grand Indonesia for luxury and food variety, Pondok Indah Mall for family shopping, food, entertainment, and Plaza Senayan for high-end stuff.
Can you escape the city buzz? Any parks or outdoor options?
You can find green spaces. Taman Mini Indonesia, Indah, is a big cultural park. Ragunan Zoo is popular for families. Menting Park is smaller, good for a walk.
But check the air quality first.
Crucial point they make. Yeah, check the pollution levels before planning an outdoor day. Early mornings or late afternoons are often better.
And cultural happenings, festivals.
Yep, plenty throughout the year.
Yeah.
Great way to see Indonesian heritage music, dance, food, events, things like the Jakarta International Film Festival, Java Jazz Festival, and the big Independence Day celebrations in August.
Lots to discover them.
For sure. Checking expat community boards or websites is a good way to find out what's coming up.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what this deep dive into the Move and Stay Guide really shows is Jakarta is this vast, complex city with just a huge range of options. Depends what you need, affordable, family-focused, super upscale, or trendy.
Yeah, we've seen how different areas have really distinct characters. We've touched on the amazing food, the transport realities, the good and the bad and safety.
And it's so clear, drawing on that long move in and stay experience, that finding your place means really weighing those priorities. Budget, lifestyle, commute times for work, or, crucially for schools, there are real trade-offs.
Definitely. The guide does a good job laying out that landscape, the choices and challenges involved, based on decades of helping people navigate it.
So here's something to think about. If you were making this move, based on what we've talked about, how would you personally balance those big trade-offs? Is affordable living worth a potentially brutal school commute? Or does that convenience factor, maybe paying more to be near work or a good school, trump everything else? What single factor feels most critical for your potential Jakarta life?
Yeah, it's a fascinating puzzle. Something to really mull over as you
Mhm.
consider this incredibly dynamic, sometimes challenging, but ultimately vibrant city.